Hey Dave, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm going very well, man. Hey, thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I was recently revisiting some of your previous episodes, and you've had a monster roster of artists on, so I appreciate being included.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, you probably saw me in my regular setup. I'm like on the road right now kind of thing, but we're still
Nice.
making it work. So,
That's
like I
cool, dude.
say, I appreciate it. So
For
what's
sure,
going
dude.
on, man? Maybe let's just take it back to the beginning because this is such
Sure.
an interesting fact that
Yeah,
I can't help but ask this at the top.
sure.
Born clinically deaf.
Correct.
Talk to me about how that works with the incredible music that we're hearing today. I got to put it together.
Sure, man. A lot of people think about deafness as like it's binary. Like you either can hear or you can't, but as someone that wears glasses, that's the best analogy that I can give in terms of like a lot of the senses are on a spectrum. So like I'm not blind, but my eyes are terrible. So I need these glasses to see. I would never trust myself behind the wheel of a car, without these glasses. So I was born with basically overlapping, like simultaneous ear infections, and then the various like byproducts of that happen in a newborn with very minimal immune system, and that basically a combination of damaged my ears and created so much blockage and fluid and swelling and everything that I could not hear at all. Basically, everything sounded like it was 50 feet underwater. Like if you're familiar with like Charlie
Wow.
Brown's parents, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And really early on, they were trying to figure out like what is happening because I wasn't responding to audio stimuli. But a baby can't be like, this, like this hurts. And an ear
Right.
infection doesn't even really manifest itself externally. So the search for like what was wrong with me, and then after that, like the treatment course was really delicate and difficult because you have to like aggressively fight something like this, but it's also inside the skull of a baby. And it's like, we can't be too aggressive. So it
Sure.
really took years of surgeries, really hardcore medications, many years of speech therapy, and really set me back in a big way I didn't really start speaking fluently and have fully functional hearing until about 6. So at
Wow.
that point, I'm playing catch up to everyone else who's already like obviously fluent in English,
Yeah.
and my brain was just like so behind everyone else. Like, it's hearing is such a critical part. I was in this middle road where like someone who's born deaf, like no road back, fully deaf, begins learning American Sign Language and can begin the educational process through that. But I was kind of walking that line of like, we're not going to go down that path because we see there being the doctors saw like a path to recovery. So we don't want to
Yeah.
like kind of encourage you to lean towards being hearing impaired. Like we think we can get you back to
Hmm.
functional. So, at
Wow.
6, I like couldn't, I was very fortunate to like get functional hearing back, but a lot of my brain was just not online. Like cursive, tying shoes, reading analog clocks,
Mm.
short-term memory, a lot of those things just were not online, and I'm failing every single grade and getting super frustrated. It became very obvious to me that I was surrounded by people who were not like me. I didn't know in the beginning, like when I was essentially deaf, that other people weren't essentially deaf. So
That's
while
what I
I'm
was gonna
thankful,
ask. Like, what was your
yeah,
perception of it at the time?
it's interesting because like some of my earliest understanding of communication was watching my mom sing along with what was on the stereo, and I actually thought that was talking, and
Hmm.
that was the like way that people communicated with each other, is that you basically parrot back what you're hearing. So there's videos of me in my like second, third, fourth birthday sitting there, cake all over my face, and my mom says, "Do you like your cake, Dave?" And I respond, "Huh, huh, 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 huh."
Oh,
I kind of like
wow.
mumble
Just
out
the
the
sort of the tone
same,
of it, right?
yeah, but I'm like singing it back to her, and I don't
Right.
understand singing or music or anything at this. But the communication that I saw that made sense is I could feel vibrations and lower tone stuff, and I would like sit by the speakers next to our stereo. I would sit under the piano when my mom would play. I would sit on the kitchen floor and like hit pots and pans because I could like
Hmm.
feel that stuff and didn't need
For
functional
sure.
hearing to like be a part of that. So it's interesting that music, again, without me even understanding the concept of music, but like I was basically singing before I was talking. And
That's
that just has
insane.
such a huge foundational impact on the way that I've like proceeded with my entire life. And it took a while to like get caught up on all the cognitive stuff. And music played a huge role in kind of unlocking that in my
Yeah.
brain. But ever since then, I've just known that music is like, I don't know if it's fate or whatever, but like it's definitely the path that I was destined to go down, being born in a position where maybe music would never be a part of my life. And then I was given the
Yeah.
gift and the opportunity to hear. And it's like, I'm going to take absolute full advantage of this for sure.
Wow. So when you would sort of form that initial relationship with music, like you were just describing, and then around
Mm,
six, you get your hearing back, how did
yeah.
your relationship with music change and evolve? Like, was it sort of an adjustment there?
Yeah, for sure, dude. It was, it's very akin to like what I would experience in speech therapy, where like my speech therapist would hold up a bottle and she'd point at it and say, bottle. And she would give me the phonetics. She like ba ah ta oh, show me what to do with your lips and your tongue. She would spell it out. She would show me other words that are similar to this. And like I got all of that. I understood what she was holding, what it was, how it's used, how she's saying it. But then when I went to say it, my brain was just like, nope. It was basically like having a debilitating stutter.
Wow.
Um, it just those connections were not being made. So I felt very similarly about music, which I gravitated towards early on because it was very clear to me that I'm not good at school. Other kids are good at school. Other kids are good at sports. I just wasn't feeling that draw, but like music kind of had this instinctual connection with me. So I started being really drawn towards various aspects of music. And it was the same thing with the speech therapy. I could watch Dave Grohl drumming and I could understand cognitively like what's happening in the music. I understand that he's hitting the kick and the cymbals at the at the beginning of this song, and that like drum beats come at the end of four, or that fills come at the end of four bars. I get that he's doing four beats on the hi hat and two and four on the snare. Like all of that on paper made sense to me, but then when I sat down to do it, it just wasn't happening. Like my arms and legs were basically tied together like a
Hmm.
marionette, and I could not achieve that like ambidexterity that I needed to, successfully play guitar or certainly sit down at a kit. And that became such a huge focal point for me of like, I need to overcome, like it's my life is not, these are big conversations to be having with yourself when you're 9, but like
Yeah.
uh academics is not my route. Sports is not my route. I know that I love music, and I know that music was basically my first touch point with the world when I had all of my senses dulled. So it's kind of already set in that path, but I've just became really obsessed with this idea of I need to overcome this current roadblock that I'm facing. And I remember this really pivotal moment in my life where my family used to drive from Wisconsin down to Florida every spring break in this giant conversion van. And I'm sitting in the back and I'm listening to this Metallica album on my Discman. First song over and over again. It has this really straightforward drum beat, and I'm air drumming. And it's the same thing. I'm like lifting my leg at the same time. I literally could not separate those things, even though I knew exactly what the beat was. And
Wow.
I'm going to, this whole 25-hour car ride, I'm going to listen to the same song over and over again. I'm going to do the same beat over and over again.
Oh, wow.
It was super frustrating. And around like the 80th time, there was this pop inside of my skull that I can only equate to like your ears popping on an airplane, but times 100. And I literally like
Wow.
threw my headphones off. It was that like visceral, so much so that I thought, I have two older brothers. I thought that one of them like punched me in the back of the head. And then I looked behind me and realized I'm the furthest one back here. And then I'm sitting there kind of freaked out because like, I don't know what just happened. I don't know how to articulate what just happened. And I would probably get made fun of if I was like, something popped in my brain.
Right. A little confusing
um,
for others.
yeah, dude. So this happens. I kind of calm down after 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, that was weird. Put the headphones back on, start the song over, push play, and the strings are clipped. Like
Wow.
it just made sense. And all of a sudden that those like neurons were firing. And later in life, I would communicate with, I've had discussions with neuroscientists about this, and they said that what I experienced is very similar to what like stroke patients experience, or people who have had severe head wound trauma, is that you literally get like scar tissue buildup or blockages in the gray matter of your brain. And through really persistent therapy, essentially, you can have these massive breakthroughs and synapses that are so powerful that it actually creates like a pop, like a
So it actually was a
electrical
pop. It
response.
wasn't
It
it
was a
wasn't just
pop.
in
Like
your
there
mind.
was a physical thing that occurred in my
Wow.
brain that not only unlocked music for me. At first, I was just like, "Holy shit, music! I got it figured out." I spent that entire spring break just sitting in a bedroom with a drum set of pillows and two like wooden spoons for sticks, and just listened to every single CD and whatever I could. Like the most straightforward stuff: Offspring, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, and I was
Nice.
like, "Oh my god, I got it!"
You can do it. Yeah.
And I felt like this is it. Like, this is cool. Everything else is, I'm not going to figure out anything else, but I get this. And then we come back from spring break and I go to the first day of school and my brain just worked. I could read a clock. I could tie my shoes. I could, like, my
Wow.
short-term memory works. Timetables made sense to me. I was able to like immediately start executing cursive, which was like writing Japanese to me the week
Right.
before. It literally unlocked like the full potential, or at least whatever I wasn't living up to in my brain. Like it unlocked that reserve power that I was not able to tap into. And ever since then, I was like, this music literally in the most physical way changed my life. And ever since then, I've just known like it would be foolish for me to not fully lean into this and embrace the power that music has had during that important, like foundational, critical moment in my life. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is all the sign that I need to be like, this is my path
I
for
mean,
life.
you'd have to be, like not paying attention really, or
Yeah,
blind in a way to it if you really didn't feel that, right? But because it was such a,
absolutely.
like you said, a visceral feeling when you really had that breakthrough and it was tied to music.
Yeah, it was
So
literally like an epiphany, man. Like it was a
yeah,
life-changing moment. And not that I was like super introspective at 9 years old, but it was clear enough to me. It's just life. There's life before the pop and after the pop. Like that's just the way it is. And music was a
wow,
huge part of that. And I'm glad that I had the like stubbornness and persistence to just be like, I'm gonna keep fucking doing this until I
yeah.
can. Yeah. And yeah, I'm so thankful for that moment. And to have I hope most people have some sort of sign. Maybe it won't be that like literal or physical in their life, but it's, I hope people can have those moments in their life where something becomes pretty abundantly clear to them, where they're like, this is it. This is what's for me. I don't know the meaning of life. I don't know what the answer is for other people, but
But
like
I know
sometimes you
this.
just, yeah, you just have those experiences. You're like, I definitively know this. Sky's blue, 2 + 2 = 4. Music is my life. It's just that straightforward.
Man, that is insane. So when you really started making your own music after getting past that, was it sort of a situation where you wanted to be a solo entity who made collaborations, or did that come much later? Like, did you try to join bands? What was that like?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think the like actually formulated idea of what me as a solo artist is or could be was something that happened much later in life, almost out
Yeah.
of a lack of options. Like I didn't grow up with people who liked, well, I didn't even grow up with like other musicians essentially, like in terms
Okay.
of my school and friend group. And the people who did like music were enjoying like Dave Matthews Band and Jack Johnson. And I'm like Nine Inch Nails and
Right.
Metallica and
Metallica, yeah.
Soundgarden. Yeah. Yeah. And so I just found like the relationship that I formed with drums felt so organic and natural to me that I very quickly was like, I'm going to just start picking up guitars and basses and stuff. We had other instruments in the house. I was like, I'm going to just start figuring this out. And that stuff also came very easily to me. So I was like, I'm going to like fight a multi-front war here and develop my skill set on as many instruments as possible with the intention of I'm going to find a band that needs bass guitar, keys, drums, singer, whatever. And then I'll do it. I'll have that skill set. And over time, it just turned into, especially as I developed the ability to record, I was like, I can just do this myself,
Yeah.
still with the intention of like, I'm gonna not allow the lack of me being in a band to stop me from being prolific musically. And I'll just keep writing and then hopefully recording and then getting into the studios and working with engineers. And that was kind of the like while I wait plan. And that turned into what feels is right for me. I still very much so like the idea of, and I have been in the position to create art democratically with other like-minded artists, and that's really cool. I love that process. I'm still even of that mindset. Like part of
Yeah.
what I'm doing with Fear of Water is to kind of raise, it's like networking for me. Like this is my audio resume. So like hearing me on Octane, for example, and knowing that I am a one-man band and I do all these things, um, like I want to be in that Rolodex the next time that like Breaking Benjamin or Seether or whatever, like any of these bands just like need to replace someone, because
That's
life
it.
happens, right? So,
Well, that's exactly what happens
yeah,
for most of these guys, though, right? I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure you've looked at the stories, I mean, they're just guys who are around and they've proven that they have a resume and then, they end up getting a gig. I mean, look at John
yeah,
Five with
yeah,
Motley Crue.
exactly, dude. Yeah, it's a combination of right place, right time. Obviously, being good at your craft.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, and part of talent is only part of it. Like, I'm also fortunate enough that I'm old enough and I'm seasoned, experienced enough that like people can vouch for my. You have to coexist with these people, right? So like,
Yeah.
you don't want to go out with someone who's like totally unhinged, addict, sexaholic, whatever type thing that can't handle, because this is a business and we have to like coexist with your, the business co-partners, and you have to live on a bus together, and you have to perform together, and you have to be able to take and receive constructive criticism in a productive way. So like talent is a big part of it, but also just being like a good human and a good business person is a pretty critical part of that. So I've had the time and experience to develop on all of those fronts. And right now I'm just in the process of, like this right now, like this type of networking. And like the single that I have right now with Aaron Nordstrom from Gemini Syndrome last week was number 18 on the SMR top 50. I haven't checked the charts yet today, and they come out
Amazing.
on Tuesdays, but like in the last song that I have with Elias Soriano of Nonpoint hit number 10. And it's great, man. Like this is just that opens up more doors and has more conversations. And I start working with different producers and different engineers, and they're connected to other artists that I collaborate with. I'm going to just keep doing this model, but exploring. I still want to be, sound distinctly like Fear of Water, but I want to explore as much of that like sonic landscape as possible. And I want the opportunity to work with as wide of a variety of collaborative artists as possible, including like outside of the genre. Like if a
Right.
pop artist or like a soul artist wants to do something heavy, like reach out to me, man. Like I really want to explore these boundaries, especially because, I'm not signed. I don't have someone telling me like, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to sound like. This is who you need to work with. There's a lot of plus sides to that. And I'm taking full advantage of it.
Talk to me about the main plus sides towards doing it the way you're doing it, collaborating with different people sort of for one-offs. And then maybe, let's look at the other side of the coin as well. What's the biggest challenge of sort of, because you don't have that consistency of those same people to go back to, and I think a
Yeah,
lot of people would find comfort in that. But maybe speak on if
true.
you could speak on that.
Yeah, that's a good question. There are a lot of pros and cons. It is every experience feels very new. Every collaboration, every time I start working with a new engineer, a new producer, I don't have some sort of like cookie cutter template of like, it's this guitar plugin and here's the drum sound that I recorded, and every song's in the key of D minor, and like just rinse and repeat this. Like I'm trying to evolve with everything that I do, and with every collaborative artist that I work with, they bring some of their flavor and expertise and their particular perspective to the table, and I want to be able to like congeal with that in a way that doesn't betray what the Fear of Water sound is, but is still very respectful of like the very amazing talent that they're bringing to the table. So the
Right.
benefit is I'm not on any kind of schedule, but I want to be as prolific as possible. I don't want to like cannibalize. I don't want to be putting out a song every single week, because that doesn't allow the current single to like breathe and expand and grow and climb charts and get put on playlists and whatever. But I don't want to put a song out every 5 months. Like I want to have like a good click going.
Yeah.
It gives me the opportunity to try different sounds. Like right now I have two singles out. The one with Aaron, which is very like almost like progressive melodic hard rock. And then I have One Day, which is a very ballady song with Heidi Shepard from Butcher Babies. And it's interesting to see like, how are these songs doing organically? How are they being embraced by radio? What's the playlist placement like? How are people reviewing it? How are fans giving feedback? How do Butcher Baby fans respond to this song? And how do Gemini Syndrome fans respond to this song?
Hmm.
It gives me good feedback in terms of like, maybe I want to lean more towards one or the other. It gives me the opportunity to like, not doing albums allows me to try different flavors of Fear of Water without committing to like, okay, it's one album, it's 12 songs, all of them are done with this engineer, all of them are done with
Yeah.
this producer, they all have to fit in this genre. um I like that. I've done that in the past, but I'm in this kind of exploratory phase now where I'm trying to do as much as possible while keeping it the highest level of quality. So um
Wow.
it's super fulfilling. Like at the end of the day, when it's gone through the 1,000 rounds of revisions and all of the negotiating and all the scheduling and all the placement and everything is done, and I look back at it, it's like, damn, dude, like pretty much did that by myself. That kind of
Yeah.
leads into the downside, is that like it's a lot of work, man, and it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of anxiety that kind of leads to, pushes me to do the best that I can, but the buck also just completely stops with me, right? I don't have like bandmates to share the work with or kind of celebrate the victory with. It just all
Mm.
falls on my shoulders. So, yeah, there's a lot of pros and cons. It has really shaped and honed my work ethic as well. It's an enormous effort for even one of these collaborations, let alone to have like I have two more that are finished now, ready to be released. I'm starting three more songs with Joseph McQueen this
Wow,
week. I'm doing a song with Dan Sugarman from Ice Nine Kills that starts May 8th. Like I'm trying to like plan out and like keep the momentum going so I can
for
be
sure.
prolific while still exploring all of these different new sonic frontiers. So I like the freedom that it gives me. It's very stressful. It's all worth
Of
it in the end. I
course.
look back at these songs and these videos, I'm like, hell yeah. But it's also kind of crazy what I'm taking on.
I can, you know what, I can definitely relate in a lot of ways as well. Just in terms of this craft here, there's a lot of
Sure,
similarities, and I think it's definitely more relatable when a person is a solo artist. But even so, I mean, just the consistency of keeping it going, even with the band, that's most of it, right? It's just that consistency. I mean, what have you found are the aspects that have pushed the music forward the most, sort of outside of the music itself? Is it posting on social media a lot? Is it TikToks? Like, what exactly do you
sure.
find helps that consistency otherwise?
I think what I'm really focusing on right now is in a lot of ways, music videos used to be the primary delivery method for music because it was also synonymous with like the band image and like maybe their performance energy or your sexiness, your edginess or whatever. And then with like basic, essentially the death of MTV and like music videos kind of went away. And I feel like there's been a resurgence there, but like there's this opportunity with not, everyone is self-publishing and you have YouTube and you can have paid campaigns on Facebook or whatever opens up this opportunity to kind of do whatever the hell you want with music videos. So I've been focusing really on building up the creative team behind Fear of Water and making sure that the album art and video for each collaboration is like as professional and on that level of quality as the song itself. And then, really using social to push that. And then, these collaborations, a big strategic advantage there is, you do a song with Clint Lowry from Seven Dust or Elias from Nonpoint or Marcos from El Nino, like you immediately get this opportunity to get in front of their fan base.
Yeah,
And they've done all of the collaborations have netted really positive results in terms of that fan base being like, this is cool. Like this features an artist that I love, but it's a little bit out of that box that we know them in because these bands that they come from have these really specific sounds. And I'm not looking
yeah,
to have Elias come do a non-point song with me. Like I want him to be able to show more of his like vocal chops and do something different. Or like with One Day, Heidi's really known for being this ferocious badass on stage and
yeah,
this really powerful scream and growl. But in this song, it's very ballady, and she shows this incredibly vulnerable, sensitive side of her that takes the song to a whole new level. So like I want to keep
yeah.
creating those opportunities, and hopefully it's really enjoyable for their fan base as well, which really helps expand the reach and awareness of what I'm doing.
Oh, no question. I mean, especially the track with Heidi is a great example because, I'm sure she's has done singing like that. I don't know the Butcher Baby's whole discography, like the back of my hand,
Yeah,
but I definitely never heard her sing like that before. And I was
yeah,
like, this is a really cool, other side to it. So,
yeah, yeah.
it must be really interesting for you as well to see that other side of the coin and having sort of your influence bring that out in a sense.
Absolutely. And I have to say that like that is also the benefit of working with different producers is that the producer I was working with at that time kind of pushed me in the direction of Heidi. I was thinking more along the lines of female vocalists that I know because they're kind of defined by this
Yeah.
sensitive, delicate, vulnerable nature. And I really like Butcher Babies, and I think Heidi's a phenomenal performer. But I kind of had her in this box in my head of like, well, when I do a metal song that needs a female vocalist, like I'll be sure to call her up. And that producer was like, I really think you should give this a shot. And we sent her the demo, and immediately she was like, I fucking love this. Like, I absolutely want to be a part of this. And even that first draft that she sent back gave me goosebumps. I was like,
Yeah.
this is perfect, man. Absolutely. It
That is
was
so
really cool.
cool. Is there
Yeah.
anybody that you have on your list that you want to collaborate with in the future?
A lot.
Right. I guess I mean, we all do, right?
Yeah. So, but it's like, I push myself to be relatively realistic. Like if you told me 3 years ago that I'd be working with Clint Lowry, I'd say that that's bullshit. But as I like achieve these things, as I like manage to get these collaborations to come together and then see them be successful, it kind of gives me that momentum and quantifiable metrics that I can take to the next collaborator and be like, this is a legit thing that I'm doing here. So I'm trying to like use that to build the confidence to aim higher while still having a realistic viewpoint. So like Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm, phenomenal
That's
vocalist.
what I was just thinking, actually, funny
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. But I think as of now, definitely out of my league. The conversations that I've had with producers who have facilitated other collaborations with her, like her price tag is pretty substantial, as it should be. She's an incredible A-list singer from a huge band. If I don't have a personal connection to someone and there's no like, she doesn't benefit from making music with me in any way, it would be like a favor coming from her. So like I try to eliminate that like A-list top tier and then start looking at the blend of who's really relevant right now and has a good following. And then also the Venn diagram is basically the relevancy within my genre. And then this other circle of artists that I love and respect and have enjoyed over the years. So there's artists from like 90s and early 2000s that I would love to work with. Like I would love to work with Christopher Hall from Stabbing Westward. That for me would like scratch this like awesome nostalgic itch. But then there's guys from like Wage War and Periphery and there's so many other like current bands, nothing more, that I would just absolutely love to make music with. And I think not being too laser focused on like who that needs to be or what genre it is, or it's only who's on the Octane Biggins right now, it gives me
Yeah.
more opportunities and honestly just gives me more room to breathe, because I'm going to get a lot of no's. Like this does involve a lot of like cold calling and networking and being like, okay, I know this guy. Who does this guy know? He knows this guy that can pass on this message. And I got to cast a bit of a wide net here
Yeah.
to keep this going. Because I'm still, still a very independent artist. I don't have label support. I'm not a household name. I'm not out on tour with some huge recognizable artist. So I'm still like working on building up that awareness of myself and Fear of Water. But like I said, this first batch of 6 collaborations have gone really, really well. I'm really excited about what's coming up next.
That's amazing. I'm relating more and more as we talk here as well, just in terms of building ourselves up. And I'm glad that we can
Yeah.
be here fighting the good fight, making a name for ourselves. Of course, everybody can go check
Oh yeah,
out
man.
Fear of Water. We have all the links down below in the description. Dave, I really appreciate it, man. We should do it again. I'd love to,
Yeah.
do it, do a longer one and just congratulations on everything, man. I think what you're doing is really, really cool.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Let's stay in touch. I have a lot of new stuff coming out this year and some big collaborations that I can't announce yet, but I would love to